Hello everyone, my name's Gordatidos, and I'm continuing with Magium Chapter 5. Barry, Darren calls out to me again as he approaches the trees. I'm over here, I answer him. He enters the forest and starts looking around for Cutthroat Dave. Where's the Cutthroat? If you look hard enough, you can still see some of his ashes near that rock over there. Ashes? Don't tell me that device of yours gives you fire powers now too. It wasn't me, it was the Stillwater. Aiden came back and burned Dave to a crisp just as he was about to finish me off. He said it wasn't fitting for a mailman to die before he got out of the post office. Wait, you're saying he used fire magic? Didn't he use air magic that time when he pinned me to the ground? Normally it takes a lifetime to master even a single element. Maybe he has some artifact that's helping him. Maybe he's older than he looks. Maybe he has a pact with some god. Maybe he's older than he looks. Darren pauses a bit to ponder on my question. You might be onto something there, Barry, Darren tells me. When I fought him, he could anticipate every one of my moves, and he didn't even bother to use magic to avoid my first few strikes. Most battle-hardened warriors would have had a hard time dodging even the first slash of my sword. I'm not really sure how we could figure out what his real age is, however. Maybe we could ask him. Ask him? Have you lost your senses? Why do you say that? It's not like he has any reason to hide his real age from us, and he doesn't seem to have a problem with switching between attempted murder and casual conversation. Sometimes I wonder about you, Barry. At any rate, I think we should wake up Kate. She needs to hear what happened, and we could use another strategy meeting right about now. The two of us headed for our cave and proceeded to wake Kate from her slumber. It took us more than a minute to awaken her. When she got up, we could see that she was still in a terrible shape. It seems that not even healing magic can work miracles. It'll probably be another day before she's fully recovered after this morning's ordeal. We start filling her in on all that's happened since Aiden showed up. After we're done talking, Kate takes a few moments to reflect on our words. So let me see if I got this right, she says. Barry, you traded our lives for one message? Right, I say. And we need to deliver this message to any robed men we might encounter that wear a brooch with a picture of a hawk holding the sun in his talons. Yeah? Does that description tell you anything? Yes, she says, and then almost immediately looks towards the ground. She's hiding something again, I just knew it. They're an underground group, she continues. Most of the time they don't really show themselves in public. Nobody knows exactly who they are or what they do. Most people don't even know what they exist, for there are rumors that they are being backed by the kings of Rothia. They're being backed by the kings? Darren asks. What I don't want with those hotshots? You simply have to tell them to remember the Stillwinter, right? I wonder what that's supposed to mean. Sounds like a threat. Sounds like a coded message. Sounds like a coded message to me. I think it's referring to something that only Aiden and those robe men know, so that they can meet up somewhere or take a certain action. I agree, Darren says. He wouldn't want us to know where they'll be meeting or what they'll be doing after all. I don't think Stillwater would have spared our lives just to send a message, Kate says. He must have other hidden reasons we're not aware of. The way he phrased this message sounds more like a threat to me. What if they attack us right after we tell them these words? Now hold on there, Darren says. There's no reason to assume that the message is a threat just from the phrase's wording. Besides, I think that what's more important right now is to figure out a way to beat Ida and not talk about his message. And how do you suggest we do that exactly, Kate says. It only took him half a second to put you to sleep, and I'm pretty sure that your protections are better than mine in that department. That alone would be enough to take us all out, but I hear he has a whole arsenal of other spells in his pocket. So what? Does that mean we should all just bow down to him and become his lackeys? When did I ever say anything like that? All I'm saying is we don't have enough information to make any viable strategies against him at this point. Until we find some weakness to his magic, we should be grateful for the time Barry's bought us with this trade, however long it may last. Maybe you're right. Hopefully the time Barry's bought us will be enough to find out Aiden's weaknesses. He turns to me. Barry, did you have any luck finding those medical herbs you needed to cure your sister's illness? No, nothing of the sort just yet. I'm keeping my eyes peeled. Kate frowned at me. All right, Darren says, let me know if you need any help. Barry, Kate says, may I have a word with you in private? Of course, I say, and follow her out of the cave. As we make our way out, Darren winks at me and gives me a thumbs up. Leave it to Darren to completely misinterpret this kind of situation. Sometimes I wonder if he even understands body language at all. Once we're at the cave's entrance, Kate stops in front of me and looks me straight in the eye with that serious, determined look of hers. You lied to Darren about your true purpose in joining this tournament, didn't you? And what if I did? Why would you hide this from him? Do you seriously think he'll consider you an enemy just because you're competing for the same prize? And even if he did, do you really think he'd have any reason to fear you? Everybody lies. Everyone has something to hide. You're no different. It's not like you ever told Darren about the Beacon of Hope, did you? Kate's determination from her eyes has now been replaced with uncertainty. What do you know about the Beacon of Hope? Not much, really. Aiden just said you're a survivor from that place, but he wouldn't give us more details. He said we should ask you in person. So what is this Beacon of Hope, then? She hesitates. It's complicated. Uh-huh. See what I mean? You're hiding stuff from Darren, too. How's that any different from what I'm doing? It is different, and you should tell Darren the truth, but you're free to do what you want. That's all I have to say on the matter. With these last words, she turns her back on me and storms back into the cave. Tell Darren the truth, or don't say anything to Darren. Maybe Kate's right. What was I thinking when I lied to Darren like that? He's shown me nothing but honesty so far, and I've betrayed his trust. He's going to get upset about this, but I'd rather tell him the truth now than have him find out later on his own. Darren, I have something to tell you, I say as I enter the cave. Kate, who is preparing to go back to sleep, is now watching me intently, waiting to see if I'm really planning to go through with it. Hey now, Barry, you really shouldn't start a conversation like that. Usually conversations that start with these words never end up well. I take a deep breath. I wanted to tell you I lied to you yesterday about the real reason I'm here. The truth is I didn't come here looking for medical herbs. I came here because I want to win this tournament, because it's been my dream ever since I was a kid to become a mage, and the Magium can grant me that wish. I'm sorry I haven't been honest with you about this. And that story about your sister, that was all a lie too? Yes. Oh, Darren says. His eyes are a lot colder than usual. Well, now I know. Now you know. Kate is smiling at me faintly, but Darren is looking more serious than I've ever seen him before. I decided to give him some time to think about what I've said, and I head back towards the cave's entrance. As I reach the exit, I suddenly hear a woman scream from far away in the distance. At the same time, I get a warning message floating in front of my eyes telling me not to hurt her because she's one of the locals. Although she's pretty far from here, judging by the faint traces of magic that are coming from her direction, it's safe to assume she's being attacked by monsters. They don't seem to be very big or particularly powerful, so we're likely talking about a handful of goblins. The rules of the tournament are a bit hazy on what would happen if we were to save one of the locals from a monster attack. The general rule is not to intervene at all in affairs of people of Varathia, but it's not being enforced through a spell like the rule that prevents us from directly hurting them, for example. From a logical perspective, it would be less risky not to intervene. There's no way to know for certain that taking an action here would not get me banned from the tournament. But then, the woman screams again, this time louder and sounding more terrified. Ignore her or call Darren and head for the rescue. This isn't the time to worry about tournament regulations. That woman's life is in danger. We need to act now. Darren, come quick. What? What's wrong? One of the locals is being attacked by a group of goblins nearby. If we hurry, we can make it in time to rescue her. Darren gets a serious look on his face and grabs his sword. Let's go, he says, and he follows me as I head in the direction of where I heard the scream. As we got closer, the monster's magical aura intensifies. There's 4 of them, and they have the woman surrounded, but it doesn't seem like they've drawn blood yet. When we finally get within visual range of the attackers, my suspicions get confirmed. They're goblins, all right. Vile and hideous creatures. Not taller than 4 feet, with fangs instead of teeth, crooked nose, pointy ears, and green skin. Despite their appearances, goblins are quite intelligent and usually organized in clans with clearly defined hierarchies. Unlike most other monster races, they're also smart enough to make and use tools as well as weapons and armor. Ancient language check failed, level 3. As soon as they see us, one of them yells something to his allies in a language I don't understand, and then they all quickly make themselves very scarce. Visibly, they were not prepared for an actual fight. After the goblins are gone, I turn around to make sure the woman we just saved isn't hurt in any way. Now that I got a good look at her, I'm briefly stunned by just how beautiful she is. She has long auburn hair, a thin waist, and a warm smile, while her facial features are soft and feminine, unlike those of Kate. And her light brown eyes radiate kindness. She's wearing an auburn dress to match her hair, and she appears to be somewhere in her mid-20s. The woman is now bowing elegantly before us as a gesture of gratitude. Thank you all so much for your help, she says. I don't know what I would have done without you. My name is Rose. Pleased to meet you. All in a day's work. You're lucky we managed to make it in time. No problem. We love helping people, but we also accept donations. All in a day's work, I tell her. Oh, she asks, smiling playfully. I take it then that the reason you've joined this tournament is to help the people in need. Well, don't mind Barry, Darren says. He just likes to boast in front of pretty ladies. As you may have guessed, we are just some participants in the mage tournament that happened to be close by and heard you scream. I'm sure anyone else in our position would have done the same. You're being too modest, Mr. Swordsman. Many others would have likely hesitated to help me due to the tournament's rule of non-interference. That is to say, if they'd have even been tempted to help me in the first place. I would have liked to repay you for your kindness, but I did not bring any money with me, since I was afraid I might run into robbers. If I may ask, Kate interrupts, what were you doing all alone in the middle of the wilderness? Well, Miss, Kate, she says, as she points towards herself. Then she curtly points towards me and Darren, giving Rose our names as well. Rose smiles, and she continues, Miss Kate, I was out here looking for some very rare herbs that only grow in this area of the continent. There's been an outbreak of oil drip in my hometown, and as an herbalist, I could recognize the plants that are needed for the cure. I'm sorry, what's an oil drip? Oh, I did not know this disease does not exist outside of our continent. The doctors are unsure of its cause, but what happens is the patient's sweat becomes as thick as oil. Ugh. And they get very high fever with violent coughing. Some of us have a natural immunity to it, but those who are not so lucky get quarantined somewhere and left to die on their own. The only cure we know of for this disease is extracted from the very rare plants I've come here to collect. Or why are you the one that came here to get the herbs? Do you have members of your family that are infected? Why didn't you at least hire some bodyguards to go with you?" "Oh no, my family's fine, thank the gods. I came here because all the sick are too poor to afford the money to send anyone to collect herbs for them. I did not have the money to hire bodyguards to come with me either. I'm no doctor, but I volunteer to help to tend the sick as often as I can. With the death of our grand priest, the number of sick people increases every day. He was the last person in our town that knew how to create food using magic, and as much as he has tried, he did not succeed in teaching his craft to any of his disciples. Many are starting to get poisoned because of eating wrong berries from the forest, others are dying of starvation, and others have resorted to... She pauses for a bit to bring herself to say the words that are on her tongue. "Animal hunting," she finishes her phrase. "Wait, so it's true that on your continent it is forbidden to hunt animals?" asked Darren, shocked. "It was. There was a time when each city in Varathia had at least 10 people that knew how to create food out of nothing by using magic. That skill was taught to them by the Creator, and they taught it to their disciples as well as they could. But those that could pick up the skill were very rare and talented individuals. Since the very foundation of Varathia 600 years ago, all the cities relied heavily on the Creator to find these talented individuals, teach them this craft. But then the Creator simply disappeared about 100 years ago, and the number of people that still knew the food-making craft started to dwindle. With the risk of asking something obvious, who is the Creator?" asked Darren. "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot how little information about us reaches the other continents. The Creator was the founder of our civilization. Everything we are today we owe to him. He and the spirit protector of all animals, the Great Golden Fox, decided together 600 years ago to end all war and hunger, uniting the human and animal kingdom, leading them into an age of peace and prosperity. They taught both humans and animals how to create what they needed with magic, and thus eliminated the need for work and conflict. Food, water, warmth, shelter, every one of those things could be obtained through magical means. From what I hear, it must have been paradise. Why did the Creator disappear? How did the Creator live so long?" "How did the Creator live so long? From what you're telling us, he must have lived at least a few hundred years. Yes, it's one of the reasons why there are more and more people that don't even believe in his existence anymore. It's already been a long time since he disappeared, and he didn't really show himself to many people before either. It was mostly only members of the royal families that got to see him. There are many that say the Creator was simply an invention by the kings, and that they're using his disappearance as an excuse in order to keep the power to create food for themselves. In some of the cities, these groups of people have started rebelling against their kingdoms and are on the brink of civil war." She pauses. "But I must be boring you with these stories. I thank you all again from the bottom of my heart for rescuing me back there. I only wish there was something I could offer you in return." Darren grins. "Well, you have time to think about that on your way home, because we're coming with you." "What?" says Kate. "That sounds like a great idea. Or don't you think you should consult us before making such a decision?" "That sounds like a great idea. You too?" Kate asked me, disappointed. "Well, it's not like we have anything else to do until they give us our objectives," I tell her. "We'll probably be safe for one of the cities than out here in the wild, where we keep getting attacked every few hours. Didn't you say yourself you don't have any specific leads to the whereabouts of your friend you're looking for right now?" "I suppose, but..." "Then it's settled," says Darren enthusiastically. "No," Kate says, "nothing's settled. I never said I agreed to this." "Please listen to me," Rose interrupts. "Darren, I really appreciate what you're trying to do, but I do not want you to fight your friends over it. Trust me, I'll be fine. I know it must have seemed like I don't know what I'm doing back there, but in reality I've walked these roads by myself before. I purposefully avoided all areas that are frequented by monsters or bandits, and I've done plenty of research ahead of time. The only reason I ran into those goblins was because there was a rogue group, far away from any other goblin encampments. It won't happen again." "Be quiet for a second," Kate says. "Do you hear that?" Now that she mentions it, I can hear a faint whistling, although I don't recognize the tune. It's getting closer. Suddenly the music stops, just as the whistlers get in visual range of us. There's 3 of them, weapon enhancers by the look of them. They seem cleaner than Cutthroat Dave's groups. They don't smell like them, but other than that, they don't look much different. They'll probably attack us on sight like all the others. And here I thought we filled the quota of pointless fights for today. "Clive, do you see that?" says one of the men. "By the god, it's a banshee," says another. The third man starts screaming and falls on his back. "Monster! Kill the monster!" yells one of them with sheer terror in his voice. Kate doesn't seem to be taking this very well. She's looking towards the ground, but this time it is not anger I see in her eyes. If I were to guess, I'd say she's feeling miserable. The man named Clive is now rushing and screaming towards Kate with the sword in his hand, ready to run her through. Darren readies his own sword, but before he gets to act, it is Rose that puts herself between Kate and the attacking mage. "Stop," she yells, and the mage named Clive stops in his tracks. "Get out of my way, woman," he says, "or I'll kill you along with that monstrosity you're so keen on defending." "You can't hurt her. I won't let you. I owe her for saving my life, and you can't hurt me either. I'm a citizen of Varathia." "Ah, you think their dumb rules can stop me? I've murdered people before. I'll teach you a little trick. As long as they don't catch you in the act, they have no real proof." "What, you don't really believe in their fairy tales about their spell somehow teleporting me away before I kill you, do you? Anyone smarter than a rat would be able to tell you that's just a bluff." He's right. Even for magic, a spell like one of Varathia's claimed to have cast on us would go so much beyond what we know is possible. To stop an attack before it even occurs, you need something akin to thought reading. Clive, one of the other men says, maybe you should let her be. We shouldn't be going around attacking locals on our second day. Don't worry, I won't be attacking her, Clive says with a wicked grin. I'm just going to teach this little whore her place. No, Darren shouts as he runs towards Rose. At the same time, Kate extends her arms towards Clive, and an ice cone is slowly coming out of her palm. Clive quickly slashes his knife at Rose's face, and she instinctively closes her eyes. The mage stops his strike mere inches away from his target, and his whole body starts vibrating loudly as it gets enveloped in a white light. Ah, shit, he starts to say, but then gets teleported out of the continent and away from the tournament. What did you do, Clive, you filthy... Ah! The man who started to talk was immediately interrupted by one of Kate's cones of ice that went through his right shoulder. Normally, I wouldn't think twice about killing scum like you, Kate says, but I'd rather spare Rose from witnessing a gruesome bloodbath, so I'm offering you a chance to retreat. What do you say? The man with the ice cone on his right shoulder is grinding his teeth. Forget the Banshee, he says to his comrade. Let's get the hell out of here. Once the two of them get far enough away, Kate turns to Rose and says, I've changed my mind. I would be honored to serve as your escort until you reach your hometown. I'm sorry for having misjudged you. What you just did was very brave and heroic. Really? Because to me it seemed reckless and stupid. Since when do you appreciate bravery and heroism? Really, because to me it seemed reckless and stupid. Kate, who was standing right behind me, smacks me in the back of my head. What the hell was that for, I ask her. Do you have no tact whatsoever? I have more than you. At least I don't smack people out of the blue for no good reason. Do you want another bump on your head to go with the one I just gave you? Rose lets out a giggle, which catches our attention. I'm sorry, she says, smiling. It's just that you reminded me of my little brother and sister who always fight like this. You two seem really close. Kate is blushing. This is the first time I've ever seen her blush since I've met her yesterday. It kind of suits her. I can see why, Darren says, grinning. Barry's been smitten with Kate ever since he first laid eyes on her. You know what? Kate asked me, taking Darren's joke a little too seriously. Hey now, says Darren. You'll have to continue this conversation later in private. Now there's 4 of us. We'll need to rethink our battle strategy. We need to make sure nothing happens to Rose if we encounter any monsters on our way to our hometown. And so we ended up spending the rest of the morning on discussing different tactics and stratagems. End of chapter 5. Last time I checked, I had 3 subscribers now. I think I know who the 3rd one is. I have a pretty good idea of who it might be. And if it's not that person, you know who you are. Then welcome to the channel. And if you are who I think you are, I know who you are. Okay, subscribe and like if you so wish. It's getting hot in here. I need to turn this heat off this car. Okay, see you all next time. Fare thee well.